Have you ever felt like the news says inflation is cooling, but your grocery bill, rent, or tuition fees keep climbing higher? It's a common frustration, and if you've ever wondered why your personal financial reality seems disconnected from the economic headlines, you're in the right place. This isn't just about numbers. It's about understanding the forces shaping your everyday expenses and empowering you to make smarter financial decisions. Inflation and the cost of living are terms often tossed around interchangeably in daily conversations and media reports. You might hear a news anchor discuss rising inflation, and immediately, your mind jumps to your own increasing expenses. This natural association leads to a widespread misunderstanding, creating a sense of confusion and even distrust when official economic data doesn't align with your personal experience. This blending of concepts isn't just a semantic issue. It has real implications for how we perceive our financial well-being. When the government or central bank announces that inflation is under control, but your budget feels tighter than ever, it can be incredibly frustrating. This video aims to clear up that confusion, providing you with the clarity needed to navigate your personal finances with greater confidence. Understanding this distinction is a foundational step in building robust financial literacy, especially for young adults, students, and beginner investors who are just starting to manage their money. By the end of this educational journey, you won't just know the definitions, you'll grasp the profound difference between inflation and your personal cost of living. We'll explore why one can slow down while the other continues to rise, and crucially, why your individual financial experience might feel so disconnected from broader economic statistics. This understanding will not only demystify economic headlines, but also equip you with a more accurate lens through which to view your own financial situation. This isn't about making things cheaper overnight, but about giving you the knowledge to interpret economic news critically. It's about empowering you to anticipate financial pressures and plan more effectively for your future. For anyone looking to build a solid foundation in personal finance, distinguishing these two concepts is an absolute game changer. Let's start by laying down the clear definitions that will serve as our foundation. Think of these as the two distinct pillars of your financial understanding. Grasping this core difference is the first major aha moment that will unlock everything else we discuss. Inflation, at its core, measures the rate at which the general level of prices for goods and services is rising, and consequently, the purchasing power of currency is falling. It's typically expressed as a percentage, indicating how much more expensive things have become over a specific period, usually a year. When economists talk about inflation, they are often referring to broad economic trends, not necessarily your individual shopping cart. The most common measure of inflation is the Consumer Price Index, CPI, which tracks the average change over time in the prices paid by urban consumers for a basket of consumer goods and services. This basket includes everything from food and housing to transportation, medical care, and education. The CPI is a statistical average designed to represent the spending patterns of a typical household across the entire economy. It's a crucial indicator for central banks, influencing interest rate decisions and monetary policy. In contrast, your cost of living measures how much money you need to cover your essential expenses to maintain a certain standard of living in a specific location. This is a deeply personal and localized metric, reflecting your unique budget and lifestyle choices. It encompasses your rent or mortgage, groceries, utilities, transportation, healthcare, and any other regular outlays required to sustain your household. Unlike inflation, which is a rate of change, the cost of living is about the absolute dollar amount you need to spend. It's a reflection of your actual expenses, which can vary dramatically based on where you live, your family size, your consumption habits, and even your career choices. One is a broad economic rate. The other is your specific, lived financial experience. This distinction is the absolute key to understanding why your wallet might feel different from the headlines. Imagine a scenario where the news proudly announces that inflation has slowed significantly this year. This sounds like good news, right? You might expect your expenses to start dropping or at least stabilize. However, for many, the reality is quite different. Your rent might still be at an all-time high, your weekly grocery bill remains stubbornly expensive, and your car insurance premiums haven't budged. This is because slowing inflation doesn't mean prices are falling. It simply means they are rising at a slower pace than before. If a loaf of bread went from $2 to $4 last year, on 100% inflation, and this year it goes from $4 to $4.20, 5% inflation, the inflation rate has dramatically slowed. But that loaf of bread is still more than double what it was 2 years ago. Your cost of living hasn't reset to pre-inflation levels. It has simply absorbed the previous increases and is now facing smaller, but still upward, adjustments. Inflation doesn't undo past price increases. It only dictates the speed of future ones. The higher prices from previous periods become the new baseline for your expenses. This is a critical point for students and young adults managing their first budgets, as it highlights why past financial planning might need constant adjustment. Your purchasing power has already been eroded by previous inflationary spikes, and a slowdown in the rate of increase doesn't magically restore it. This is precisely where the widespread frustration and feeling of being misled originate. When economic reports suggest that inflation is under control, there's an implicit expectation that financial relief should follow. However, your cost of living is determined by the actual price levels you face, not just the rate at which those prices are changing. Once prices for essential goods and services rise, they establish a new, higher baseline. This new baseline is the financial reality that households, students, and young professionals live with every single day. Your budget must now accommodate these elevated prices for rent, food, transportation, and utilities. Feeling financial pressure under these conditions is not only rational, but entirely understandable. It's a direct consequence of your income's purchasing power being diminished by past price hikes, even if the pace of new increases has decelerated. For beginner investors, understanding this distinction is crucial for evaluating the real return on investments. If your investments are growing at 5%, but your personal cost of living is effectively rising by 7% due to accumulated price increases, your real purchasing power is still declining. This insight helps in setting realistic financial goals and understanding the true impact of economic data on your personal wealth. There's another crucial layer to this puzzle, especially when we consider the long-term trends in your cost of living. Certain categories of expenses tend to rise persistently, often outpacing general inflation rates, and rarely experience significant price drops. These sticky costs are major drivers of your personal financial burden, regardless of broader economic trends. Housing costs, whether rent or mortgage payments, are often the single largest expense for most individuals and families. Factors like limited housing supply, increasing demand in urban centers, rising property taxes, and fluctuating interest rates can push these costs ever higher. Even if overall inflation cools, local housing markets can continue to see significant price appreciation, making it harder to afford a place to live. For students, this often means higher dorm fees or off-campus rent, directly impacting their financial strain. Healthcare expenses, including insurance premiums, deductibles, and out-of-pocket costs, have consistently risen faster than general inflation for decades. Advances in medical technology, administrative complexities, and the aging population all contribute to this upward trend. These costs are often unavoidable and can represent a significant and unpredictable portion of a household's budget, creating immense financial stress. For students and young adults, the cost of education is a paramount concern. Tuition fees, textbooks, and living expenses associated with higher education have soared, leading to substantial student loan debt for many. Even as general inflation might moderate, the structural factors driving educational costs, such as demand for specialized skills and institutional operating expenses, often remain strong. For young families, childcare costs can be astronomical, often rivaling or exceeding housing expenses in many regions. Limited availability, high labor costs for qualified caregivers, and stringent regulations contribute to these persistent price increases. This expense directly impacts household budgets and can influence career decisions for parents. These structural factors mean that even when the overall CPI shows a slowdown, your personal cost of living, heavily weighted by these essential categories, can continue its upward trajectory. This explains why your lived experience can feel so different from the aggregate economic data. So, when you hear that inflation is slowing down, it's vital to reframe your understanding. It does not mean that your cost of living is about to decrease, nor does it mean that prices are returning to previous levels. Instead, it signifies that the rate at which prices are increasing has decelerated. The climb is less steep, but the mountain is still getting taller. Understanding this crucial difference doesn't magically make things cheaper, but it does provide immense clarity. It allows you to interpret economic headlines with a more critical and informed perspective rather than feeling confused or frustrated. This knowledge explains why people can still feel financially squeezed and under pressure, even during periods when economists are reporting good news about inflation. It empowers you to separate the broad economic picture from your personal financial reality. For beginner investors and those managing their personal finances, this reframe is incredibly valuable. It helps you set realistic expectations for your budget, understand the true impact of economic policies, and make more informed decisions about saving, spending, and investing. It's about moving from passive consumption of news to active, informed financial literacy. On this channel, our mission is to demystify complex economic terms and connect them directly to your everyday life without the hype or panic. We believe that financial literacy is a superpower, especially for young adults, students, and beginner investors navigating an increasingly complex world. Understanding concepts like inflation and cost of living is not just academic, it's practical knowledge that empowers you to take control of your financial future. Now that you understand this fundamental distinction, you're better equipped to analyze your own expenses, plan your budget, and make informed decisions about your money. Don't let economic jargon confuse you. Use it to your advantage. What's one major expense where you felt the pinch of rising costs the most, even when inflation news seemed positive? Share your experience in the comments below. And if there's another economic term or personal finance topic you'd like us to break down next, let us know. Hit that like button, subscribe for more insights, and join our community dedicated to building financial confidence, one clear explanation at a time. Your financial journey starts with understanding, and we're here to guide you every step of the way.